You guys were here, or some of you guys were probably here last week when we started building my deck for regionals together, and I wanted to play a version of Snake Eyes that wasn't just hand trap turbo, you know, compare your opening hand with your opponent, throw a bunch of hand traps at each other until someone gets to play the game and they win the game because of that. At this regional I went to yesterday, which was a relatively big regional, it had over 300 players. I played Power Spell, Sky Striker, Snake Eye without a single hand trap in my main or side deck. There's a Kurikara in my side deck. If anyone calls Kurikara a hand trap one more time. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's no hand traps in my main or side. So literally my entire day yesterday was spent watching my opponent's combo because in 9 rounds, I won 2 dice rolls. So I was able to go first twice and I went second 7 times. So literally the entirety of my day yesterday was spent watching my opponent's combo, and then I tried to break a board, which honestly was so much more fun than had I just played the hand trap version. That was the point of this deck. That's why I played it. I felt like it was way more exciting than just chucking hand traps at each other. Honestly, considering I only won 2 dice rolls, I'm actually quite happy with my performance because the regional was over 300 players, so we played 9 rounds. I finished 6 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses because I lost the very last round. Had I won the last round of Swiss, I would have made top 8, so I was very close. So I feel like it's still worth showing off the deck and explaining what I did because I think it's a little bit of fresh air in a format that is mostly considered tier 0, hand trap, Snake Eye decks everywhere. I broke the craziest boards yesterday. I OTK'd someone through Flamberge, Formula, Borload, Savage Dragon, IP Masquerena and the Spell and Trap Zone, Field Spell up, Promethean Princess in the Graveyard, Ash Blossom in hand, Imperm set. They died. It was very fun. Lost round 2 to Runic Stun, had 1 draw against Snake Eyes, and lost the last round to Gimmick Puppet Branded because I lost the dice roll to it. And without hand traps, didn't draw Droplet, got Puppet locked. Yeah, I know some of y'all are gonna be mad because I posted a picture on Twitter when I entered the tournament with Engage and people thought I was playing pure Sky Striker. Of course, had you watched the stream last week, you knew it was Snake Eye Sky Striker. So sorry, there's no Ray in my deck. I still wanted to show it off because I thought it was a really fun approach and I had a very good time. I'm actually pretty happy with how it turned out because I performed pretty well. I played against 5 fire decks. I beat 4 and drew against 1, so I didn't lose a single fire matchup. I'll show you the deck and explain you some of the ideas behind it, and I encourage you to try it out, honestly, if you have access to the fire cards, of course, which is a big issue in the current format. But if you do, I think it teaches you a lot of different skill sets than the actual like hand trap version of the deck, you know, breaking boards, solving those kind of puzzles. I think it's harder than the hand trap version, but that is what made it so fun for me personally. It is very, very similar to what we build on stream. I even incorporated some of the ideas that you guys from Twitch chat had that I wasn't planning on doing initially, but I liked the idea that someone suggested in chat, so I put it into the deck. Let's get the quote-unquote standard part out of the way, the Snake Eye package. It was 3 Ash, 1 Oak, 2 Poplars, 2 Flamberge. I considered cutting 1 Flamberge, but I was working out some of the lines with like Hornet Drones plus Snake Eye Ash, and to be able to play around Nibiru optimally, I felt like you needed 2. I sided out 1 a lot going second, and then I maxed out on Diabell Stars as well. Just maximum firepower when you go second, no pun intended. 3 Bonfire, 1 Temple, and 1 original. For that part, there's nothing crazy going on. Here's the fun part. The Striker package, I played 2 Engages. I played 1 Hornet Drones. I played 2 Widow Anchors and 1 Shark Cannon. I wanted to make sure I have enough targets for Engage. Sometimes I wanted to search for the second Widow Anchor. The 1 Shark Cannon is a phenomenal extender in the mirror match. Took Snake Eye Ashes with it. I took Poplars with it. I took Promethean Princesses with it. It was just phenomenal, honestly. And this is one of the things that this deck can do better than the hand trap version. A lot of the non-engine cards that I was using help you play through hand traps as well, and this is what I was doing with the Sky Striker cards, mainly these 3. If I went first, which I didn't do very often because I didn't really get to go first during the regional, but had I gone first, in theory, what you can do in order to play through hand traps with this, you actually make a Link Karibo and put it into the graveyard before you normal summon so that you play through Imperm and Veiler really well. The way you do that is you start with Hornet Drones, you make your token, you link off the token into Kagari, Kagari gets you back the Hornet Drones, you Hornet Drones again, you get another token, you link the Kagari off into one of the 2 striker links that points downwards. I decided to play Kaina, and then you can turn the token, because it is a level 1, into a Link Karibo. And this is another idea that Twitch chat had, because I was initially planning to just make a Dark Charmer here. But what you can do is you can link the Linkaribo into Secure Gartna, and then the Linkaribo is in the graveyard before you normal summon. The Secure Gartna can't be linked off, but you can circumvent that. You just send it for Snake Eye Ash and then it's off the field. There is a downside, which is that you do a lot of summoning, right? So playing around Nibiru is a little bit tougher like this, but it does work. There is lines to play around Nibiru still. The best way, I think, is if you normal summon Ash now and special Poplar. I think in this position, if you don't have another extender in hand, which I mean, this deck is full of extenders, you would have to search this, because if you search Temple here, you can just get Nibiru before you activate Temple, and then you can't summon out the Flamberge from it. You search the original, and then you just keep playing with what you already have. Don't use the original. If they nib you at any point, like, you have a material from the Poplar to send for the original, right? And go into Oak that way. So you just like continue here, Ash, send Secure Gartner, summon Flamberge, play with that. And if they nib you at any point, you either float with Flamberge or you still have the original to go into Oak, right? So this was the idea behind the striker cards, or this was something that they offered when you go first, as opposed to hand traps, right? Because hand traps don't help you play through your opponent's hand traps. I also played 3 droplet and 3 enemy controllers. These cards do 2 things incredibly well. The first thing is they are incredible board breakers that also help you play through your opponent's imperms and veilers. I mean, imperm and veiler are in everyone's deck, so I felt like I needed ways to play around them, because like going second normal summoning Snake Eye Ash into a field and then just letting imperm resolve is like super bad. Almost every time I had these, I was able to dodge something with it, plus take their monster or negate their monsters. The second thing that they do for the deck is that you have cards that are good going first. When you get hand trapped and you can't make the full board, you like want to have these kind of cards that interrupt your opponent a little bit at least. The same is true for Widow Anchor, by the way. There's pretty good ways to use Widow Anchor going first, even if you combo, because normally if you resolve your combo, you have monsters in the main monster zone, right? But one thing you can do, for example, that I like to do is summon out the IP Masquerena, and then at some point when your opponent has a monster on the field that's annoying for you, like let's say like a Flamberge or something like that, you can like IP Masquerena your entire field into a big Apollousa, then trigger your Flamberge in the graveyard, and in response to your own Flamberge, at the moment your main monster zone is empty, so you can chain Widow Anchor to take their monster. Flamberge brings back 2 level 1s, you have a big Apo, you've taken their monster, you have like Promethean still in the graveyard. It's pretty good. When you play power spells like this, you want to make sure that they're not all bad going first, because I still wanted to go first had I won the dice rolls, right? These were really good for that. These were the best cards in the deck in my opinion. Talents and Thrust. These are what made the difference. Specifically Thrust. The card I searched the most often with Thrust was actually Engage, because that card is semi-limited for some reason. And Engage is what made me break the boards most of the time, because this is the card that gives you more card advantage and more bodies at the same time. Like usually the most common way I would do it is I would Thrust for Engage, I would Engage for Hornet Drones, draw an extra card. Hornet Drones makes Kagari, Kagari adds back Engage, not the second Hornet Drones, and then the Engage gives me Shark Cannon or Widow Anchor, depending on whether I wanted to take a monster or take a card from their graveyard, right? So I would draw 2 cards with it, and I would get multiple bodies with it, and then like proceed to make like Cheetah and all that kind of stuff, right? And so that's why I really wanted to play Thrust, and I actually am playing a trap card for Thrust, because this was not in the deck when we built it on stream. I think this is the only spell card that I added after stream, because someone suggested a good trap card for it, and that is the Black Goat Laughs. I main decked 1 copy of the Black Goat, which was also a Twitch chat idea. During that stream it came up. The idea behind the Black Goat Laughs is that it's a really good card to set off of Thrust going first if you get hand trapped. This way Talents and Thrust are also really good going first, because there's 2 scenarios. You either don't get hand trapped and then, you know, you just do your combo and that should be good enough, or you get hand trapped and then you can use like Talents to look at their hand, or Thrust to set the Black Goat. Black Goat is actually a quite good card in the mirror match. You can call like Flamberge when they tag out with the Snake Eyes. It's pretty good. You can technically also maybe call Poplar depending on the situation, but it's also good in a lot of other matchups, right? Like you can call Low or Skull Guardian against Branded. You can call important pieces. Like it has something in every matchup pretty much. Ultimately, why I decided to play this card over other traps and why I was comfortable maining this is because I don't think it's bad going second in this deck, particularly because you have 3 Diabellstar, 3 Wanted, and 3 Droplets to get it into the graveyard instantly, and then it actually is good when you try to break a board. Like for example, your opponent has an IP Masquerena in the spell and trap zone to summon out with Flamberge or Temple. You discard this for Diabellstar. If they want to bring out the IP Masquerena, you just Black Goat Laughs, call IP Masquerena, and they can't use it. It's actually quite good. I was happy main decking this for that reason. Like, it's much better than cards like Different Dimension Ground that are just straight up dead when you go second, right? I never said it with Thrust because I almost never went first, but I like the theory behind it. And then the remaining 2 cards were 1 Magician Souls, which I felt like was just a solid bridge between everything. You know, like if you have multiples of these that are once per turn and you can't use them, like you have a multiple bonfires or multiple thrusts or whatever, you can get rid of them. You can get rid of the Black Goat Laughs too. You can send a Diabell Star to revive with Celine, all that kind of stuff. It felt like a solid card. It didn't feel good enough to play multiple copies. It was kind of like card number 40 that I threw in. I played 1 Reborn as well. And so I was at this point and I was like, what's card number 40 gonna be? And I was like, okay, 1 Magician Souls seems like a very low risk kind of card. It's hard for this card to ever be bad if you only play 1 because you can't draw it in multiples. It also makes Linkuriboh into Secure Gardener before you normal summon, which is cool. Baits out Handtraps potentially by sending spells away, trying to draw cards. It was all right. I only summoned it once and then it was okay. Most of the cards I only played 1, like Black Goat, I activated once, it was good then. Reborn, I activated once, it was good then. And then Souls, I activated once, it was good then. So like, it was all right. I really liked the list, honestly. I really liked the list. And I think had I won the dice rolls in some of the more crucial spots, like losing the dice roll against Runic Stun obviously sucks. Losing the dice roll against Branded with Gimmick Puppet also obviously sucks. Considering I got this close to making top 8 still, I'm actually pretty happy with it. Considering how much fun I also had figuring out how to break boards and such, because it is really fun. That's the main deck. It's 40. The extra deck is a little bit tight, at the same time also not that tight. I was able to play a lot of flex cards, like a lot of situational stuff that I wanted to play because it doesn't have Jet Synchron, so it's Linkuriboh, it's the 2 Striker Links, and it's Secure Gardener. It's quite the extensive package for the Sky Striker cards, right? Considering it's a small Striker package, but because I was playing Thrust, I felt like it was worth it. Like I was able to get to engage almost every game because I was playing 2 engages and 3 thrusts. I felt like it was worth it. And then IP, SP, the 2 Charmers, which are obviously your best friends. The Striker package makes both Dark or Hita, with depending on which one you want. The Striker token is a Dark, Kagari is Fire, so you can make Hita. Really good to play into boards with these. Nightmare Phoenix came up a lot. Nightmare Unicorn came up a decent amount. I added this one kind of like last minute because I had a lot of lines with Engage and Snake Eye Ash. You can like heart make Apollosa, and then sometimes you don't want to go into SP. I had a line that ended on SP IP, and then I don't always want to go into Apollosa because of talent. So I wanted Unicorn, and it was honestly pretty solid. I used Unicorn a couple times. Celine was there because we play a Magician Souls, we play 3 Diabell Star, and it helps extend. I didn't play Access Code, which is maybe the one card I should have played, or I wish I had. Maybe I would take out the Unicorn for Access Code because I did notice that Celine without Access Code didn't actually come up that much. Celine was all right, but without Access Code, it loses a decent amount of value. Obviously, Princess is here, and then Apollosa is here. Raging Phoenix is here, and Zelantis. Yeah, that's the extra deck. It was pretty good. Besides missing the Access Code, I didn't miss a single thing. The side deck was 1 Kurikara and 14 spell cards. I took out Bestials kind of last minute, which I regretted when I stared down Gimmick Puppet, but it is what it is. Kurikara was pretty good. It was a very valuable option, very good way to search the card going second and OTK people with it. Pretty nice whenever I did search it. Magical Spring, 100% win rate. Whenever I drew this card, I won the game. Annihilated Fire King Snake Eye with this card. Whenever my opponents went first, I was like praying that they would be playing Fire Kings because it's so much easier than if they make the Omni Negates. I played against 5 fire decks. Unfortunately, only one of them was the Fire King version. You can still beat pure Snake Eye, you just have to work harder for it. This card was crazy. Like against the Fire King one, I literally went like draw phase, Magical Spring, draw 3, discard 1 spell, activate Soul Release, which is another card in my side deck, banish entire graveyard, that's 3 spells in the graveyard, activate Engage. Nah, they died when I had like 7 cards left in hand or something like that. Soul Release, I only sided it for Fire King because it makes that matchup really, really easy, because then you just don't have to deal with Garunix, you don't have to deal with Promethean, you don't have to deal with Flamberge, Float. That matchup, you don't actually have to OTK them because after Soul Release, they just have no follow-up, but that matchup is already pretty good, so I'm not even sure if you need it. This was not there in the deck building stream. Like I said, I had Bestials. I decided to swap it for Dark Ruler because Dark Ruler is, in theory, pretty good against Voiceless Voice. I didn't play against a single Voiceless Voice though, but it also gives you, because I don't play any hand traps, right? So playing against something like Manadium would be scary in theory, even though the deck is not that popular. I felt like if I was playing 3 droplets and 3 Dark Ruler, I would at least have a fighting chance against those kind of decks that make a quote-unquote unbreakable board. And in theory, if you see your opponent has Jet Synchron in their pure Snake Eye, you could also consider siding it. I didn't do that because I felt like it was still possible to win without it. The pure Snake Eye deck, you kind of have to OTK it. If you don't OTK it, it's going to be very hard, and you can't with that, obviously. I sided 3 Cosmics. These were in the main deck in the deck building stream. I took them out because I wanted to main deck the thrusts, which I thought were a lot better, and so I wanted to move them to the side deck because you want to cover stuff like anti-spell, summon limit. It's pretty good against Fire King Island. Against Fire King, you can take out a couple cards like Droplet because they don't have Omni Negates, and you just side in like Cosmic, Soul Release, Magical Spring, and just, you know. Unfortunately, didn't draw enough against Runic Stun, but yeah. There's a Change of Heart as another thrust target. They didn't come up very often because most of the time you search Talents or Engage, but as an option going second, it's nice against stuff like Apollousa. And then I played 1 Duster, which I think is very important because I wanted a searchable out to summon limit for thrust, because I didn't actually side Cosmic Cyclone versus pure Snake Eye. Because the weird thing with Cosmic Cyclone against pure Snake Eyes, if they play it right, it actually doesn't help you prevent the Masquerena. And every one of my opponents with pure Snake Eye went for this setup, right? They always went Heal Spell, IP Masquerena, and Flamberge, and other stuff, obviously. But like, this is the dynamic, right? And the problem with Cosmic here is that if you start with Cosmic on the IP, they just chain Flamberge to summon it. But if you wait with the Cosmic, you summon, they chain Temple, target the IP, and then if you activate Cosmic, they chain Flamberge again. Right? So you can't prevent the IP Masquerena with Cosmic, which kind of invalidates Cosmic for me in that matchup. I don't think it's good enough if your opponent does the right thing. All of my pure Snake Eye opponents did this setup. Everyone. The Temple line plays through Nibiru the best, so they all go for it, and then they never just go standby phase, Flamberge, summon Masquerena. That's just not what they do, right? And so Cosmic, I decided, wasn't good enough to main deck because of this, and I also decided it wasn't worth siding it versus pure Snake Eye because of that interaction. That made the Feather Duster so much more important, because if they had summon limit, I couldn't beat it unless I had Duster, which I have 3 thrusts to find it, right? Whether this list is better than the Handtrap version or not, I doubt it. I doubt that it's actually better than the Handtrap version, but it is 100% way more fun than playing the Handtrap version, the Handtrap Wars. Like, the games that I played with this deck were super fun, very enjoyable. The same was true for my opponents, by the way. Like, even if I beat them, they said like, hey, this is a lot more fun to play like this, because they also had to like think a lot more, because they always got to do their combo, but then they had to like use their interruptions properly and stuff like that. Like, it was pretty fun. I'm pretty happy with how it performed because, like I said, I played against 5 fire decks. I beat 4 of them. I drew against 1, so I didn't lose to a single fire deck. I mean, yeah, my losses, Runic Stun and Gimmick Puppet branded with no hand traps. That happens. I'm not too mad. Being 1 win away from making top 8 after having such a fun experience at the regional 2, like, I'm glad that I found a way to enjoy this format instead of just throwing hand traps at each other, and still do decently well with it, honestly. That's the profile. In case you've been watching this on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed. Hope you subscribe to the channel for more content. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you around. Thank you for watching. Bye bye everybody on YouTube.